Okay.
Okay, good evening. I would like to call to order the special meeting of the Norwalk Common Council for July 10th, 2023 for the purpose of a public hearing being conducted in reference to the proposed charter revision. Would you please stand and join me in pledging allegiance to our nation's flag? Pledge allegiance
to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Dixon, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Burnett,
Present.
Mr. Camacho,
Present.
Mr. Goldstein,
Here.
Ms. Najilski Eichner,
Present.
Ms. Smith,
Here.
Ms. Ayers, Mr. Uvelman,
Present.
Ms. Revoluz,
Here.
Ms. Young,
Here.
Mr. Kaides, Ms. McMurray,
Present.
Ms. Alterman, Mr. Meek, Ms. Shanahan,
Here.
Mr. Frere,
Here.
Ms. Ayers, Mr. Kaides, Ms. Alterman, Mr. Meek. We have 11. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody online waiting to address the council or make comments on the proposed charter revision?
If so, please raise your hand electronically now if you would like to address the council. You will have, please try to keep it to 3 minutes and state your name and address for the record, please. The first person we have is Alex Knopp.
Thank you, Mr. Knopp. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling. Can you hear me? It's a little hard for me to know.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. First, I appreciate all the hard work of the members of the Charter Revision Commission, including my friend Patsy Brescia from the Library Board. I have to say, I'm not here to speak on any specific item. I'll do that later on, not in this public hearing. I'm here to urge you to make a broader effort to inform the public about what is in the proposed charter revision package. I tend to follow these things pretty closely, and I'm confused. I think there needs to be a relatively simple statement of the major items that are being considered, not just an 80-page document itself. I'm confused about whether the council has already made changes or not based on reports in the media. And I feel it would be a tremendous help to make sure that there's clarity.
Can we let the record show that Nicole Ayers is present? Ms. Dixon, did you see that?
I think one of the difficulties is that although the state statute sets out the number of public hearings and so on for charter revision, that because of COVID, it's been very difficult in the Zoom process to keep as close a track on this as one might have done, at least speaking personally, when meetings were held exclusively in person. So again, without reference to any particular item, though some of my views are known, I would really urge you to publish a summary that is accessible, clarifies the major items, lets us know what changes have been made from the document that was submitted to you originally by the Charter Revision Commission. And I think that would go a long way to making sure that all of the non-controversial good government stuff that's been done doesn't get caught up in anything involving the controversial items. So thank you for this chance to speak to you.
Thank you, former Mayor Knopp.
Next, we have Lisa. If you can unmute yourself, Lisa.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Great. Lisa Britton, 19 Shorefront Park. I support updating the charter and have since 2016. I don't support the 4-year mayoral term and fear that pursuit at this time threatens to derail the good work that the commission has done. It's not partisan or personal with this mayor. He and I have recently spoken about this, and without putting words in the mouths of Mayor Knopp, a Democrat and Republican candidate, Vinnie Schettino, or myself, an independent and former candidate, none of us support it, perhaps maybe for different reasons. Pushing the change out to 2028, I think, I thought it was 2027, but I guess it's 2028, suggests that even the commission has its doubts. Despite words to the effect that Norwalk has a strong council weak mayor, we know that's not the case. Norwalk's mayoral powers are quite extensive, appointing some 50 boards and commissions. And the council must approve, but with single party rule, you're effectively rubber stamps unless you want to be attacked in your own caucus. And even if you aren't, unfortunately, the public never sees your debate. It's all done behind closed doors. And so I've repeatedly said I could support a 4-year term if council members also had 4-year terms. There's been discussion around the fact that it takes new council members time to come up to speed. A 4-year term weakens the council if you don't give it to them while giving superpower to the mayor. And there have been concerns expressed about voter turnout. I think if you did it, you'd also have to alternate the terms of the council, put them in place like we did, like we have for the Board of Ed, so the whole council doesn't turn over at once. I've also spoken about minority party representation. With our first past the post election system, 45% of voters have no voice, and that's not democracy. Single party rule leads to complacency, groupthink, and a lack of debate on the issues. And maybe you're not aware, but we're one of only 3 out of 169 towns in Connecticut that doesn't have a provision in the charter for opposition party. The others are Cheshire and Meriden, but Meriden has a city manager. I think we also have to look at proportional representation given our increased growth. Well, we probably need to examine more representation on the counts across on council seats across the city based upon population changes. Changing an executive office term without examining the check and balance impact on the legislative council branch is not democratic. Lastly, the National League of Cities was referenced by Mr. Hooverman and the preference of a 4-year term, being the majority of what that was, but failing to mention the number, what the term lengths were for council people, or that the most common form of local government was a city manager and a council at 55%. Norwalk's kind of had that under this mayor with Leisha King and now Tom Livingston. The only issue that they aren't accountable to you guys, the council. The National League of Cities also indicates that 22 out of the 30 largest cities in the US have nonpartisan elections. I know that's a pipe dream as an independent, but allow me to dream. In closing, American democracy has been built on a system that believes in the equality, freedom, and dignity of every person. It has a faith in majority rule, but in equal measure an insistence on minority opposition rights, checks and balances, and finally, the necessity of political compromise. And I'm hoping tonight that, like I said, we don't put at risk other aspects of the charter that you guys have done an excellent job on. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Britton.
If anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically now. Next, we have Diane Laricella.
Good evening, Ms. LaRochella, you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and staff. I first, for the record, Diane Laricella, Little Fox Lane in West Norwalk. I wanted to thank all, including the public that paid for the study and Attorney Mednick. I would like to thank especially Patsy Brescia and her team and Attorney Mednick and the staff for undertaking this. I agree with much of what has been said by previous speakers, especially about ways that the city can inform, especially after you make your decision about what, if any, of the different sections will be coming up for vote. The town of Newtown has a flyer. You can't see it because we don't have the videos on, but I will drop one off at the mayor's office for charter revision. They have a communications committee, and this was to help explain, a flyer helping explain what the questions were about. So I highly recommend that before November so that there won't be a lot of misinformation or untoward controversy on things that really hopefully are not controversial. I wanted just to run down some things. I do not know if this committee, if the council has reviewed the public comments sent to the Charter Revision Commission.
Say see you later, sis. Say rub a dub dub. Oh wow. I feel you.
Help burp that baby. Anyway, I wanted just to first of all say in section 10, I'm very pleased and I want to make sure that we that I think what was added to the section 10, which is budget finances. Yes, and I'm very happy that there should be, I believe, a public meeting or hearing prior to the finance department producing, with the help of the chiefs and the department heads, the budget. I think it's so important to hear our ideas and thoughts before you put things together. So I very much appreciate the quotes that I've read about why this is a great idea to have a public hearing before October, so that, and make sure that the public knows that there is such a public hearing using social media and each district and at-large council member and whatever other means you need, including the press, to let people know about it. I think that's an excellent idea, and I hope that it passes. That said, I wanted to just reiterate the following. I think that unless and until there is the possibility under special act in this legislature for term limits, I am not sure that I could support a 4-year term for mayor or council, quite frankly.
You're at 3 minutes.
I will wind up then. I do think that it's very important to consider adding the following in my final minute, and that is, I don't think there are, I think that it would be very good if this council would consider friendly amendment to the section relating to elections and the council. And that is, consider adding members to the district and the at-large council seats in an effort to allow the council members not to have to attend as many committee meetings. In theory, if you have several more council members, you can then allow council to do their own homework and due diligence. But right now, it's a challenge. I also wanted to consider that I'm disappointed that council compensation was not discussed in enough time was dedicated, not enough time was dedicated to it. I do wish that you could still reconsider and just have some kind of language in this document that could maybe seek out an ordinance where council compensation is in line with, I don't know, the GDP or some economically approved benchmark. But I think that it's unwholly unfair for council members not to be compensated more than they are today. Lastly, the Citizen Police Review Commission has, to my knowledge, not been added in to the issue relating to police, even though I am happy that you will increase the police commission, I think, by 1 seat. I still think we need a Citizen Police Review Board or Commission for citizen oversight, even though for the most part, we haven't seen the kind of horrible issues happening across the country in Norwalk. There still are some issues. And I think it would actually help the police to have citizen oversight in a form of a well-run police commission. So I thank you for your time. And I also, if someone could add later, are there any other efforts for the public to be able to send in their information or speak? I know several people that could not make tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Please raise your hand electronically. I do not see anyone else, Mayor Billy. You're muted, Mayor.
Yes, in all fairness, I think we should wait another minute or so, just in case somebody has not been able to return home in time or are having trouble logging in. We want to make sure that everybody who wishes to address the council has an opportunity to do so.
Very quickly, while we're waiting, I just wanted to point out in response to Mr. Knopf's suggestion, and it's a good one. We've heard it from a number of people. One of the things we tried to do, and it was a challenge because there was so much involved with this, was to come up with some kind of condensed summary of what was happening. So if you go to the Charter Revision Commission page on the city website, or if you just Google Norwalk Charter Revision, it'll take you right there. There's a thing that says learn more about the Charter Revision Commission. The first link under that is called the recommended updates to the charter by the 2023 Charter Revision Commission. It's a 2.5-page summary of where some of the more important suggested revisions were made. It's kind of as close as we could get to a cheat sheet or a easier to digest version of what happened. So that was put together just before we sent it to the council. So if there are any changes that the council's recommended, they would not be in this piece, but it is as close to up to date as you can get without having to read dozens and dozens of pages.
Thank you. And just for Ms. Brescia, I know we want to announce the people from the Charter Revision
Yeah.
Commission that are present.
Yeah, so that was Tyler Fairborn speaking.
Right.
And I am present, and Benita Watson is also Watford Riley, I always get it backwards, present from the commission. And there was one correction, I think, that Diane Lauricelli mentioned. I believe we've recommended 2 additional commissioners to both police and fire, not 1.
Correct. Okay, so now I believe we have Deb DiOrenzo who wishes to address the council.
Yes, please unmute.
Hello.
We can hear you. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. Okay. I'm not sure. I probably don't have my, Deborah DiOrenzo from 28 Morehouse Lane. I just wanted to point something out that I actually had submitted something to the commission and also had talked to Tom Livingston about this issue probably a couple months ago during the budget process. I really feel that the city should do a 5-year long-range planning plan as well as a long-range operating long-range plan in addition to the capital budget. From my experience in financial and strategic planning roles in Fortune 500 companies, I've found that this annual process was extremely valuable for making better decisions. My concern with our government is that the council doesn't necessarily consider the operating impact of some of the capital decisions that are made. Recently, a few years ago, approved the new Sono school. However, our operating budget will be impacted by that rolling on. And this year we weren't able to fully fund our schools. So I'm just curious how that new school will be impacted. I don't think were considered when it was approved. So I actually, as I mentioned a couple of years ago, a couple of months ago, probably at the budget time, I mentioned this Tom Livingston, who's my representative at the time, and he totally agreed with me and actually had indicated this was something that would be put in the new charter. Having been in finance roles, we always did a 5-year long-range plan every year in addition to the operating budget because we wanted to understand what the impact of our investments were and our other decisions. And I think it's something that's extremely valuable in helping us better make decisions. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. DiOrenzo.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please raise your hand electronically.
Ms. Sushila?
Please unmute.
Sushila?
Yeah, Sushila Gillis, 35 Split Rock Road. I just went into the norwalk.gov site. I'm looking for this wonderful summary that's supposed to be there, and I'm not finding it. I want to say that, I'm just getting involved in terms of trying to understand something about the revisions. And I had to dig pretty deep to find anything. And what I found was pages and pages and pages long. So now I'm on the site and I see recommended updates to charter by 2023 Charter Revision Committee. I click on it. I open it. And I get something that's really very, very pretty long. When I was looking just on my own, it was extremely difficult to find anything that, that wasn't short and to the point. So I'm sort of agreeing with some of the other people that have spoken, saying that there really needs to be a better way of communicating this information to the public without having to go on the site and sort of dig down deep and not knowing what to click on. I think it has to say something very simple like, summary recommendations, and has to be very sort of short and sweet. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Sushila. Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council of the attendees that are here? Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council of the attendees that are present at this meeting? Is there anybody else that wishes to address the council of the attendees that are present at this meeting? Seeing none, I'm not sure if there are any council members that wish to make a comment or. Okay, seeing none, I guess it would be appropriate to call for an adjournment at this time. Ms. Revolus?
I'll do it this time.
Mr.
adjourn.
No,
Oh,
motion
hold
to
on.
adjourn. Stop. It's just a button. Hold up. Motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn by Ms. Revolus at 8:24. All in favor, please.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, and thank you to the members of the public that addressed the council. That is a very important part of this process. Thank you.